So joining us now, live from Nashville, is House Speaker Mike Johnson, alongside Tennessee congressional GOP candidate Matt Van Epps. Gentlemen, thanks so much for being with us here today. Speaker, I'd love to start with you. What do you think about this pause of the Afghan visas? And is it something that should only really be the beginning? There are increasing calls of revisiting immigration, revisiting this concept of assimilation, what we can absorb, and whether or not we need something like what happened in 1924.
Will, I agree 100%. These are serious times. They require serious policy to address these real issues. The president and the vice president, by the way, JD was right way back then. They need to re-examine those who have been allowed in. The Biden administration completely bungled this in every way. They opened the border wide, as we know. As many as 20 million illegal aliens came across the border in those 4 years. And then we allowed in these other people who obviously were not properly vetted. So we're glad that there was an election that has real consequences. We're glad this administration is dialed in, and I can tell you the Congress is as well. We're in the process right now of negotiating the National Defense Authorization Act, and we're looking at that very actively to see what role the legislative branch needs to play in this as well.
Yeah, we hope there is a role for the legislative branch. It's necessary because these stories are all too often, whether or not it's Somalis in Minneapolis or it's these Afghan nationals or this the mass illegal immigration across this country. This is more than a country can bear, quite honestly, culturally, for cohesion. Yeah. Congressman, you served in Iraq and Afghanistan. You have some firsthand experience with this. And by the way, I showed the top 3 states where these resettlements have happened, but there's 800 plus Afghan refugees in Nashville. Is this something, you know, right now, this is being dismissed as a man who was mentally ill, but there are very serious questions about whether or not you can take someone from a culture and a society like Afghanistan, as different, vastly different than it is, the United States, and drop them into Dallas, Fort Worth, Nashville, and not have someone be disillusioned, disenchanted, disconnected, and revert to maybe an ideology that was part of their story in the past, back in Afghanistan.
Well, Will, thanks for having me on today, and honored to be with the speaker today. And I fully stand with the president here in pausing this plan, and I'm excited when we win decisively tomorrow on our election day on December 2nd to fight alongside the speaker and work on solutions here.
Let's talk about that. I know that's what you're also here to talk about primarily. You've got this special election, this race. Afton Bain, your Democrat opponent, has said a lot of things. I think everybody's become familiar. She hates country music. She hates Nashville. She wants to defund the police. There's a whole host of greatest hits. She has told CNN, though, Congressman, that she's matured. Watch.
I was a private citizen. Nashville is my home. Do I roll my eyes at the bachelorette parties and the pedal taverns that are blocking my access to my house? Yeah, every Nashvilleian does. But this race has always been about something bigger. It's about families across Middle Tennessee that are getting crushed by rising prices, while Washington politicians and billionaires argue about this type of nonsense.
I would love you, Congressman, to address the affordability issue that she does bring up, but also I don't know the difference between a private citizen and serving in Congress. Do you have 2 sets of views, one in one role and one in another?
Well, my opponent is as far left as you can get. She has been endorsed by the Democratic Socialists of America. She wants higher and new taxes to fund her socialist ideology. She doesn't stand with police. She wants to defund the police. She wants to abolish prisons. She supports transgender surgery for minors without parental consent. I mean, you just go down the list of the extreme viewpoints here, and they are not viewpoints that are consistent with Tennessee or with America. And that's where this is a very clear distinction. I'm a West Point grad, as you mentioned. I served in Iraq and Afghanistan as a helicopter pilot, was a small business leader here in Nashville, and served in Tennessee state government as a leader, still serving in the National Guard. Real world boots on the ground leadership experience that we're going to take forward to fight on behalf of America first.
Then I'd love to ask both of you this, but I'll start with the speaker. Why is it so close? With someone like Afton Bain in the viewpoints that she has expressed, there are a lot of polls out there, Emerson just being one of them, that show this thing is within 2 to 3 points between you, Congressman, and Afton Bain. That's hard to wrap our minds around, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, a special election is a strange animal in politics. They're often way off. It's not a bellwether for anything. But this is a deep red district, and Matt should win. But the problem is when you have a deep red district, a lot of the people take for granted that the Republican or the conservative is going to win. And so this is in the middle of a holiday. A lot of people aren't even really aware this is on the ballot. So we're here. President Trump called into our rally this morning. He'll be doing a tele-rally with Matt and I this evening to raise awareness, to get out the vote, to make sure that the people in Tennessee and Nashville and the 14 surrounding counties understand they better get out and vote. This is a radical leftist on the ballot. We cannot allow this to happen in Tennessee. We should win, but we need to run the score up.
But Congressman, she is running a similar message. Set aside all the things that we have just discussed about defund the police and her feelings about country music, but she has run on a similar message to Zohran Mamdani. Now, I would like to think New York City and Nashville aren't the same, but we do have to consider the power of this affordability message and what it means for incumbents and what it means for someone who's preaching it, like Afton Bain.
Well, we think affordability, we have the right answers to affordability, to work on health care, on housing, on energy. You know, Tennessee has led in nuclear for a very long time now. The first small modular reactor will be at the Clinch River site in East Tennessee. That's out of our district, but it'll have impacts across our district and across our state. And that's going to drive down costs at the pumps. It's going to drive down utility costs. When we unleash Americans' energy dominance with oil and gas and nuclear, we have the right playbook. We have the right solutions here. My opponent simply does not. She supports new and higher taxes, and that will skyrocket our cost of living.
Yeah, I mean, I think she's self-described as, you know, I don't know, the South's AOC. Just for the record, Congressman, do you like country music?
I love country music, love Nashville. I met my wife on Broadway. We're raising our family in Nashville, and absolutely love it.
Okay, that ought to be a feather in your cap. I don't know why it's so close. You shouldn't need that feather, but that ought to be a feather in your cap. All right, Matt Van Epps, Congressman, and Speaker Mike Johnson. Thanks for your time today, fellas.
Thanks, Will.
Thanks, Will.
All right. Hey.